The news, good evening. The High-Level Committee on Food Security Surveillance has announced that there is sufficient essential commodities on the market and there will be no increase of prices on these items despite the devaluation of the rupee. The Minister for Fisheries and Agriculture, Charles Bastien, made this statement in the National Assembly this afternoon. He was giving details about the work being done by this committee on food security and surveillance established by the President last month during the COVID-19 crisis. Minister Bastien said the high-level committee is considering to amend and add other items to the list of essential goods. Talking about the supply of fuel, Mr. Bastien says CEPEC has sufficient stock to last from 8 to 16 weeks on certain products and 6 months for LPG gas. He said the Fair Trading Commission is not imposing price control on retailers, and regarding fisheries, he said the government has reduced operating costs for fishermen on baits, ice, and has established a standard price for their fish when they bring it to processors. Fishermen involved in semi-industrial fishing can resume their activity, but they have to find their own market for their catch. Those involved in the harvesting of sea cucumber will benefit with an extension of the harvesting season by 1 month and will not close it in October. Leaders in the National Assembly have thanked the health authorities, volunteers, and other organizations for their contributions to protect the population during the COVID-19 pandemic. The Speaker of the National Assembly, the Leader of Government Business, the Leader of the Opposition, were speaking after the National Assembly resumed its session after it adjourned on the 9th of April to conform with advice from the Ministry of Health. The Speaker, Nicolas Préat, said the National Assembly is not going into recess but will continue with its work. Speaking shortly afterwards, the Leader of Government Business, Charles Marmont, also thanked individuals, companies and countries for the contributions that have been made. The Leader of the Opposition, Wavell Ramkalawan, said we should remember people who are in quarantine, Seychellois who are overseas where the COVID-19 situation is much more serious, and also those who have lost a loved one during that time. Mr. Ramkalawan also expressed his concern about the rising cost of living. He said the LDS is particularly against the levy that has been imposed on imported chicken and pork and that they would not support it. The Minister responsible for Finance, Maurice Louste-Lalande, says the Financial Assistance Committee plans on assisting all eligible applicants who have applied for the scheme by May the 13th. The Minister has admitted to having a delay in the processes due to various reasons. He was answering a private notice question from the Leader of the Opposition in the National Assembly, Wavell Ramkalawan, in regards to the delay of payment of salary for workers in the private sector who their employers are not able to pay their salary during this pandemic. According to Minister Lalande, the committee has so far received 4,065 applications and have already paid 103 applicants. The Public Health Commissioner, Dr. Jude Gédéon, has said that we need to be on high alert and continue to increase and intensify our efforts to prevent a second wave of the coronavirus from happening. To date, there are no new cases in Seychelles. 2 people are still in the isolation center at the family hospital at Perseverance, and a suspect case is being tested. There are 4 other people who have tested negative who are still at the quarantine facilities at the Bajaya Beauvalon. Speaking during the press conference this afternoon, Dr. Gédéon said that small island states such as Mayotte, Maldives, and Sao Tome and Principe have seen a sudden upsurge in cases, and that if this happens here, we have to be able to contain it very quickly.
The way the epidemic is moving, chances are we will get other cases in Seychelles from one way or another, but we have to be prepared. Our health system has to be prepared to manage another incident or another episode of COVID-19 cases. I think most of the restrictions that were in place here have been removed. There are a few that have remained. Assembly of more than 4 people in public is not allowed. However, indoor assembly for work purposes, for religious purposes, these are allowed. There are exceptions that are made on the others. It's clearly defined. The order also explains how entry and exit into Seychelles is still restricted, both for vessels and for people. This is from the 4th of May until further notice. Entry at the ports, airports and seaports are being monitored by Public Health Authority, and when the airport opens in June for commercial activity, the Public Health Authority still has control over who can come in and when. These travel advisory will still stand. One final word about leisure craft. We've had a lot of query about leisure craft on the sea. What is permitted is activity that includes 4 people or less for fishing, for leisure purposes, and families. Families from the same household can go out at sea for fishing or for any leisure activities. Large leisure craft that brings crowd together is not allowed for the time being.
Childminders and daycare operators have been educated on good practices and necessary measures that they need to put in place in preparation for reopening of daycare centres and childminding facilities on Monday. They attended a half-day session organised by the Institute of Early Childhood Education, the IECD, in collaboration with the Task Force for the Education Sector, and this was held at the ICCS today. Childminders are encouraged to conduct daily screenings on all children, staff and visitors to the childcare premises and to implement the concept of social distancing. The Chief Executive Officer of the IECD, Shirley Shopi, says that they are using a recovery plan to better prepare childminders so that they can take the necessary precautions to limit the spread of COVID-19.
In this plan, there are 3 main principles that the Department of Health is emphasizing on. It's basically on hygiene, heightened vigilance, and also social distancing, among other related aspects under the 3 principles. So it is very important for them to attend this session today because for them to know what's in the plan and what are some of the new measures that they need to implement in their respective establishment so as to keep the children safe and remain healthy, and so that they also can resume and continue their normal operations.
And with this, we come to the end of this news summary. Thank you for watching and have a very pleasant evening.